Look at any Best Guitarist list and you'll likely see Joe Satriani's name near the top. He's toured with the likes of Mick Jagger and Deep Purple and has released 14 solo studio albums. Joe joins me now to talk about his new memoir and box set. Joe, great to have you here.
Thank you.
A lot to talk about. Box set, new memoir.
Yeah.
Why now was the time to release a memoir?
Well, you know, the idea came to me through this guy, Jake Brown. He really just out of nowhere showed up and said, hey, I want to write a book. I think now's the right time. And I have to admit, I resisted a bit because I thought, now, really? But once we started going with it, I realized there was a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
And then once Ben Beller got involved in publishing and the book got turned around into putting it in my own voice, then I realized, wow, there is a lot to talk about here. And that's where the catharsis started, you know, to really get the truth out on every page.
Steve Vai, one of your friends from growing up, you know, is mentioned in the book, and he was saying that you were, you know, he knew you were going to be a guitar giant. Did you know back then, like, okay, this is my calling, this is what I need to be doing?
No, no. I think Steve and I both had that wonderful blind dream. It's just sort of like, we are going to be rock stars, you know, somehow. But it's typical when you're 14 or 15 years old, all the details are somehow fuzzy, or you just don't admit that there's lots of details you have to address. So we just figured somewhere in our future, when we're grown-ups, we'll be doing this on stage and everything will be worked out. And that's a beautiful thing, because I think if when you were young, all the heavy stuff that's going to happen to you in life is laid on top of you, you probably wouldn't put one foot in front of the other. But when you're 14 and you love music, it helps you just focus everything on that song you want to play that day. And then tomorrow is the next step, and you build on that. And then as you get older, your awareness starts to, you know, blossom. I think that's very important. That's a beautiful period in life.
Do you feel like you can attribute that to your practicing all those years, or just come naturally? Did just Satriani just rock from the beginning?
No, no. My family reminded me quite a bit during this process that I was crazy about practicing, that I just insisted that I would have to do everything I knew how to do every single day, no matter what. My friends told me the same thing. Every time there were parties to go to, I would always be the last one there because I would insist on practicing before going. And I kind of forgot all that, and that I was reminded that I was just crazy about practicing. But I guess I was more nervous about it, because every new day I'd say, can I play better today than I did yesterday? Can I play as good as I did yesterday, you know? And that really, that drove me, I think, to try to excel.
Do you feel like you're still learning, that you're still improving?
Well, I'm still learning.
Yeah. Whether you're improving?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm trying to improve. I think as you get older, and if you're continually working like I do, you get much better at delivering, which is the hardest thing when you're really young. When you're 14, and like me, you hit the stage for the very first time, there's a lot of social pressure going on, and I don't think I was able to deliver more than 10% of what I could musically. I was just too nervous about being in front of my friends or another group of school kids across town or something at a battle of the bands or a dance or something. When you become an adult, all those things start to fade away, and you can focus more, I think, on your art. And years of experience performing gives you that confidence, I guess, to be able to calm down and then show people what they really want, which is the best of what you've got to offer. So in that way, I hope I'm getting better. You
cite Jimi Hendrix as one of your heroes.
Yeah.
Does he still kind of influence you today?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
I think he was one of those players that was a genius and a virtuoso, but never sounded like he practiced a day in his life. You never heard anything that was methodical, didactic, you know. It's just, it didn't seem like he labored over anything, and yet what he played was brilliant.
At the same time we were issuing this memoir, we're also seeing a 14-box set coming out of all of your music, and you digitally remastered a lot of this stuff.
Yes,
what was that process like?
Well, the process was pretty easy for me because I didn't physically have to deal with it. My good friend John Cuniberti, who's been my engineer-producer for most of my records, took it upon himself to do this project. And he remastered everything. It sounds beautiful, rescued a lot of the records that were recorded so beautifully but horribly mastered in the early days of CD, and all that kind of stuff. So the stuff sounds bigger and much more sonically beautiful, I have to say. Sounds like what it sounded like to us rolling off of tape back in the day in a beautiful studio environment. And if the fans feel like getting the chrome head, if that doesn't freak them out enough.
Tell us about this chrome head.
Yeah.
What is this thing?
Well, the chrome head, besides being a little spooky looking, because it's my head, right? You know, they did that strange photography where they spin the cameras around your head and they get an exact model of your head and they shrink it down, which I wish I could do to my own head sometimes. And it's chromed and it's got these sunglasses on there. And if you pull out the sunglasses, there are 2 USB drives in there and they hold high-res music files in there. So at 96K, you literally can hear the music the way we hear it when we're in the studio, before it turns into a horribly compressed MP3 or a cassette, 8-track, whatever, LP, whatever was the, you know, your poison back in the day. So this is really a rebirth for all the recordings.
Going through this process, do you have a favorite album?
Ooh, well, favorite albums for different reasons.
Okay. So maybe 1 or 2 reasons for your fans.
I'd say the first record, for its innocence, it was such a long shot, the ultimate long shot, and it was recorded on a credit card, and which was crazy, and I wouldn't recommend anybody ever do that, ever. Especially, I think I was paying 19.8% interest. But it had a sound that was born out of pure love for music and recording, and we tried everything that no one else would try because we didn't want to be like anybody else. So it's got a quirkiness to it I love. I probably think the album Strange Beautiful Music has quite the immediate sound to it. It's probably the most immediate sounding one, the least amount of unusual ambience, and that from a recorder's point of view, from an engineer's point of view, it holds a special quality to it, I think. And then there's the eponymous release from '95, maybe because it's so bare bones and revealing. It's a bit difficult to hear for me to listen through, but when I do listen to it, it kind of makes me go, wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, people will get to listen to them all over again with this, and that's the name of your memoir, Strange Beautiful Music, as well.
That's right. Yeah.
So it all kind of comes full circle.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, people have known you as a teacher as well. I mean, you taught many famous musicians that we know of today. Do you still consider yourself a teacher?
I'm trying to teach myself. It's really hard, you know. I've got a banjo at home that the good people at Deering had sent me. I still can't play it.
Okay.
I still try really hard. My son has tried to teach me how to play mandolin, and I just fake it. He can really play it. I work on finger picking quite a bit, and it does not come naturally to me, but I still practice like a student. So I'm more involved teaching myself.
You're also with Chickenfoot, super group with Sam Hagar, Michael Anthony, Chad Smith. What are you guys up to? You doing any new music?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing, no. I thought this year, like January, February, we'd be doing a new record. So I cleared my schedule for it, and nothing happened. So
Is it timing?
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
Everyone's got something really cool happening, and so I spoke to Sammy just about, maybe it was yesterday, about getting together next week just to write anyway. So we'll just keep the writing going, and then once the schedules somehow free up, we'll just quickly start doing it.
Okay, well, something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming in today,
Thanks,
Sam.
my
It was
pleasure.
really great. Joe Satriani, his new book is called Strange Beautiful Music. For this and all things entertainment, stay with CBSNews.com.